They fill our landscapes with interest and color and come in so many various shapes and sizes. We love our shrubs. We'll look at several varieties, including some new introductions for northern gardens, straight ahead on this edition of Great Gardening.
It really is a special environment.
I love the organization of the petals.
It's a campanula conglomerata.
Hummingbirds will go there, the bees are all over the place. Urban gardening is a wonderful thing.
Hello, welcome back. This is our third regular season episode of the program. And despite the snow and cold, some new greenery is beginning to grow. Let's bring in our experts on regional gardening, horticulturist and educator Bob Olin, and professional gardener and landscaper Tom Casper. I had wanted to ask you guys if you were putting your garden shovels to work, but I'm concerned you might still have those snow shovels out.
Yeah. 1 week ago, we guaranteed that this would be all over. Our spring would be here with us at this time. Then we had that little episode on Sunday, our white mare.
You ready to make another guarantee or not?
We're very, very close to moving into springtime here, I think.
Okay.
It's melting very quickly.
I don't know if that was a we guarantee or
that was
a he guarantee.
Yeah. We also have with us our phone volunteers from the St. Louis County Master Gardeners. So call them with your questions about your garden plans, your expectations for this season. Honestly, it is right around the corner. You can call them at 218-788-2844 or call toll free. There's a number there, 877-307-8762. You can also email askgardening@wdse.org. And now, here are some signs of the season. We have a couple of pictures that came from Tom Casper this week. And that's a nice looking boxwood, but it's sad that it's got to carry that much snow on its back.
Yeah. I was going to say signs of which season?
Yeah. Signs of a delayed winter.
Yeah. And then the tulips that were coming up, was this yesterday or the day before?
That was just yesterday.
Okay. Well, good for them.
Yeah, and certainly spring, and we're feeling it today that it's on its way. So.
All right.
Fantastic. We're feeling it.
I wanted to just mention, I think you said something like those tulips said they're coming up no matter what, even if they have to go through the snow, right?
Yeah, and a mild swear word was involved.
Yeah.
So we're not going to say that on public television.
No, we're not. Okay. Well, before we get into tonight's topic, which is shrubbery, we want to whip through a few of the questions that were held over from last week. So let's just take a few of them because they're appropriate to right now. One of them from Marilyn and Saginaw: is it too late to trim my apple trees?
Oh, we are really moving very fast along through that, and I would say unless absolutely necessary, I probably would hold off at this point.
Okay. Jan from Duluth wants to know, what can I spray and when on my apple tree to prevent brown and black spots, or do we want to spray for that?
Well, it probably depends on what those brown or black spots are. Most people have a problem with apple scab, and this is where you have to be careful. If you're going to spray, you have to go early. We're going to wait until the leaves are out, of course, and you're going to use a labeled fungicide, and you have to be a little careful with your edible apples. The material is Captan, C-A-P-T-A-N, it's labeled. With the ornamentals, there you can use Daconel, some of the chlorothalonil products, but that's just on the ornamentals. They don't have a label for the edibles. So can be done, you have to repeat it. If it's been a major problem, you may have to go to that, but just super sanitation, cleaning up any infected fruit, any infected leaves, so you don't want the numbers to build.
Big issue, right? Okay.
Nice work, Pam.
I'm learning from you guys.
She's taking notes. Good.
And certainly, we should say, certainly, if folks are thinking about buying apple trees or ornamental crab apples, things like that, look for some of the varieties that are resistant to some of those things that Bob mentioned as far as funguses and stuff. There are varieties out now that are. So
most are. I think, Tom, as you know, a lot of the newer varieties that are resistant in the ornamental crabs are zone 4. So you're going to have to be a little careful about being sure that, number one, that it's hard enough to get through. And most of these problems, particularly the ornamentals, They're not long-term. They don't impact the overall health. Some of the older varieties that are more vulnerable are very, very durable, but you can get a bad year, which we had last year because of all the continuous rain and moisture.
Great. Keith from Ashland wants to know about pruning spring roses at this time of year.
Sure. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, you can do it right now if Keith wants to get out in the next couple of days. I mean, they're going to start budding, but even if they are starting to bud, you can do any kind of cleanup, dead parts of the canes, or even cutting them down for rejuvenating pruning. Now is okay to do that. So
Keith also wants to know, can you use hardwood ashes from oak in the vegetable garden?
You never want to use any kind of a wood ash unless you've taken a soil sample first, and your soil sample calls for the addition of lime, because actually wood ash is a more potent liming agent. What we call a calcium carbonate equivalent is higher and greater on a wood ash than it is on lime. So only if you've got a recommendation for the addition of lime do you ever want to put wood ash on your vegetable.
yeah, and one of our great speakers at the extravaganza over the garden extravaganza over the weekend talked about a gardener that he was doing some consulting with, and his pH was up around 10, and he asked him one of the things he was doing. He was dumping all of the ash from his fireplace and his wood burner into his garden, and really drove that pH up. So
Soil test first. If it calls for lime, you can add an equivalent or even a little bit less of the actual wood ash that's coming out of your wood stove.
Cool. Okay, one more before we move on. This is from Judy, who says the deer were brutal to my newly planted apple trees this winter. What's the best way to get them healthy? Any secrets to keeping the deer away?
Yeah, that's the. If we knew that, I'm not so sure we'd be sitting here. But I think, particularly for people that are beginning to plant new material right now, you want to plant fewer trees and you want to protect better. And as Tom knows, they kid me about it. I'm a big fencer. You want to put tough fences up, metal fences, 6-foot fences around them. But she has the problem right now. She wants to evaluate it, and she wants to be sure. If you have a main central leader that's growing, the tree probably will branch out and grow fine. If that main leader's been damaged and you've got laterals that will never give you a good-looking tree, in all honesty, it's a young tree, and I would probably start over. With the, education's expensive, and here the price of tuition was the loss of a tree this winter, and start with a good tree with a nice central leader, and then get it protected for next year.
Okay. Well, we're going to move on to shrubs or bushes, if you prefer to call them that. First off, we have some beautiful video of early season shrubs, mostly in bloom, and I believe in order of appearance according to when they bloom. Let's take a look. Beautiful video,
Oh,
Ted
man.
Pellman. And I believe I got those right in order of bloom.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
think
correct?
so.
good.
All right, let's take a look at them individually real quickly. First, the forsythia.
Forsythia never really were good bloomers, never were hardy. We have some new introductions. I'm assuming this is one called Northern Sun. This is where you want to deal with your local nursery people and not necessarily the big box outlets, because you can get forsythia that are not hardy, but Northern Sun is great for this area.
Excellent. Okay, the magnolia. Oh, I just love it. But is it hardy here?
yeah, there's a lot of new varieties coming out that are hardies, really mainly zone 4. One of the outstanding, if you look for the stellata series, there's a couple different colors of that you can get. The white is the more common one. Now you can see them in the lilac color or pink that we see
That
here,
one's beautiful.
and even yellow now for magnolias. So.
And they usually smell pretty good.
Yep.
Rhododendron is next. This is very common.
And just very vibrant in our early landscapes. This is PJM, which stands for Peter J. Mezet, who was a nurseryman out in Massachusetts, and it is certainly one of the earliest and hardiest rhodies that we have, and I think that people should definitely take a look at that one. It's magnificent and good and hardy.
Lilacs also, you know, have been around forever, and we still love them.
Yeah, lots of varieties of lilacs, and you see the common purple and the common white there. Now, folks that are interested in growing lilacs or have lilacs, if you do not want to affect the bloom, don't prune them till after the bloom season is over. So certainly don't do that right now if you're looking forward to those lilac blooms.
Lots of azaleas too. They're two beautiful varieties.
And people know, of course, that was a southern shrub. The landscapes in South Carolina and Georgia are just covered with this beautiful flowering shrub. Introduction from the University of Minnesota. The Mollis azalea, which is the one on the left, was some of the original hardy parentage, and then that was crossbred into the Northern Lights series. And we've got white lights on the right there of that particular picture. And of course, Northern Lights was the original, which has kind of a pink color, but that whole series, they're all good and hardy. I think sometimes the originals, you want to stay maybe with Northern Lights for starters, still the most vigorous out of the whole group.
Bridal WREATH-SPIREA, I love that. It's very common as well, but gosh.
Yeah, similar, been around a long time, been in the Duluth landscape for well over 100 years. Beautiful, outstanding flowers, and the shrub as a whole. Bridal wreath, you can also get it in a smaller version of it now as well, but if folks are looking for shrubs that attract bees to their landscape or beneficial bees.
And I know you wanted to talk a little bit about the boxwood. This doesn't bloom, but we're seeing more and more boxwood around here.
Yeah, if folks are looking for a shrub that is an evergreen, so it keeps that foliage, as we saw from the picture earlier, keeps that green foliage year-round, excellent for trimming or shaping, for formal looks in the garden as well as interest in the landscape, again, year-round. So.
Okay.
And Tom, there again, would you say probably more zone 3 appropriate than colder areas?
Yeah, zone 4 appropriate.
Or zone 4, I meant. Yeah.
Okay. We're getting a lot of questions about shrubs too. This one though, was about the Anchor Tower, a lot of the azaleas at Anchor Tower and the rhododendrons, and they're wondering what do they do up there to keep the deer away?
They are all wrapped, or mostly wrapped in the wintertime with burlap. In the summertime, they used to use a product called Plant Skid, which is a organic, basically made from pig blood, and it's very, very foul smelling as it sounds like, but it is very effective in the control, or has some good effect in the control of deer.
Okay. Sue from Duluth wants to know, can I still prune my oak tree?
Oak trees could be pruned at this particular point, and then you don't want to prune them later into the season.
Okay. Let's see, my limelight tree hydrangea is not blooming. It is 3 years old. It bloomed the first and second year in the sun. This is from Anne Marie in Sandstone.
Limelight, okay, could be a little bit of a challenge. We are going to be talking about hydrangeas in that particular one, but she got 2 years of bloom and didn't get it in the third year. We want, for all of these, full sun, good drainage. Sometimes you have to maybe cut back a little bit on the fertility to kind of shock them into bloom. So I would say a little bit of careful abuse, so no fertility, not too much overwatering, and see if we can't trigger that, because flowering is obviously a reproductive mechanism, and oftentimes the stress will trigger a flowering mechanism.
And the other thing to keep in mind is even potentially, we've mentioned them a few times during this show and the past seasons as well, but deer can have an impact on that too, where they may be coming in just as those flower buds are forming and trimming that plant, so that could be it as well. So.
Okay, one more in shrubs. Jean from Duluth, new to gardening, and last year planted azalea and hydrangea. What do I need to do this spring to get them ready and promote good growth?
First of all, welcome, Jean, to a club that we hope continues to grow for you. Certainly, when she planted them, if she had amended or has amended that soil with peat, she wants to drive that pH down. They really prefer to be below about 6. So again, we've mentioned it. soil test is good.
Yeah.
Planted them in the right location. Good sun, but preferably not afternoon sun where they might burn. And then just being patient with them. A lot of them are pretty slow growing, so giving them some time.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, it was our good fortune to talk recently to a prominent horticulturist who has developed some new varieties of hardy blooming shrubs that are just right for our growing conditions.
I teach horticulture to undergraduate students at the University of Wisconsin River Falls, and then I also do a lot of research with plant breeding and development. So ninebark is one of our native shrubs. It's a large green shrub and very durable, very hardy, tolerant of moist conditions, dry conditions. And a number of years ago there was some mutations that occurred for purple foliage, golden green foliage. And so working with those color variants, I tried to bring down the size. And Little Devil is one of the first dwarf purple-leafed ninebark. So it's a good alternative to barberry, which is becoming an invasive issue. And so it's a great way to get a durable plant that's purple and compact in our regional landscapes. With Little Devil and in it being well branched and purple, I had the vision of hopefully getting a dwarf golden green version of Little Devil, and then one that combines the golden green leaves with some purple as well to get a more warm mixture of colors. So sweet cherry tea and raspberry lemonade are just new this year. They both have Little Devil as a mother. And they're compact. Raspberry lemonade has the golden green foliage, and the raspberry comes in terms of the fruits. So as they start to develop a little bit, there's a red color. So you have the beautiful rich red color with the golden green foliage. And then sweet cherry tea, the sweet part, because the flowers are white, is the first repeat blooming ninebark, which was a fun mutation, a fun surprise.
Well, always exciting for people to see new introductions and to be able to meet Dr. Zlizak at your spring gardening extravaganza. What a treat that was.
Really pleased. There are very few actual plant breeders left in the United States with significant introductions, and both Julie Overon with her Cherry Frost Rose and Dr. Zlizak were there, and they're introducing materials that are well suited and they're good and hardy for this area.
Yeah.
Yeah, an outstanding event, and for you guys to get to come and interview him and have him on the show here was really a treat for us all that were there, as well as getting to see this. So
Let's take another quick look at those introductions. The Little Devil, of course, has been around for a little while. Then there's the sweet cherry tea and the raspberry lemonade, which just are out this year.
You know, ninebark has kind of been overlooked, and I never knew exactly why, because really they're beautiful. I think, you know, they were always very green-leafed, as Dr. Zlizak mentioned there. Now we've got some of these beautiful magentas and the color of the flowers. So these are hardy. That whole genus is really a good one, and the shrubs really make kind of the part of the backbone of your landscape. So people should definitely take a look at these. Dr. Zlizak's known for his shrub rose introductions. Above and Beyond was one of the great ones, the earth kind roses.
We're going to talk about that in a couple weeks.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll tease people a little bit,
Yeah.
but it's just really nice to see that he's focused on some of these real vivid and added some color to the ninebark group, which is
Absolutely.
wonderful.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, time for a few more questions. You guys ready? Jesse from Gilbert wants to know, can I trim my low branches on my basswood tree?
sure.
Enough.
Is that it?
Go for it.
Go, do it.
Before this weekend, yes.
Oh, do it now?
Well, yeah, before the sap starts falling, if you're going to do any pruning on any kind of deciduous tree, you want to get out there with the pruning shears right after this show. Don't turn the program off, right after this show.
Go right after the program. Okay. Tom from Washburn says, what do I do with my onion sets that are ready to plant? Too much snow to put them in the ground right now.
There you go. They're ready to go. We're really not that far away. I think that I would probably acclimate them carefully, put them out to the cooler temperatures, and then I'd be thinking in a week or so after acclimating them a bit, let's put them in the ground, because they're just going to deplete their resources if you don't get them out.
Yeah.
So
Wait
time
for the
to go.
snow and then go.
That's a good line. Wait for the snow to go and then go.
Then go.
Rhonda from Esco is wondering, how do I get rid of cattails in my pond?
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's kind of a tough one. Should we save it?
Yeah, we should save
Should we
that
come back
one.
to it next week?
We can do it, but people may not like the answer. We'll tease them that way.
Okay, all right. We'll talk about that next week, but I imagine it would take some chemicals maybe?
Yes, it will.
All right. Speaking of products, Denny from Duluth is wondering if the products for repelling deer and rabbits are worth purchasing, and you know, a lot of people use them, right?
Yeah. Well, I think they're certainly a less expensive alternative and have some impact and effectiveness over building a fence. And we do talk about a fence, and a fence in some applications is a good choice. But certainly if you have a landscape and you have a few plants you want to protect and things like that, some of those products work very well.
And Tom, do you think, the rules of thumb, if you're going to use them during the growing season, it's hard to protect in the winter months because you can't get out there, can't reapply, but reapplying on a regular basis and then switching materials, they're both taste repellents and they're odor repellents, so rotate your products every application and apply through the entire season, because just when you think there isn't a threat, just like those tulips in that picture.
They get in there and
Yeah, all of a sudden,
go after them.
there they are, right?
Had to bring that up, Bob.
We're going to have to move on to this week's tour, which takes us back to an historic farm near Ashland, Wisconsin, with an amazing variety of shrubs among the many lovely features of their gardens.
Well, we'd like to welcome everyone to our Nath family century farm. And I'm David Nath, and this is my brother Paul.
Yes.
A century farm is a farm that has been in existence and in the family for 100 years. And it's officially recognized by the state of Wisconsin.
We call it a rock garden because we have so many rocks being used in different ways.
And all the rocks that we'll see were hauled by us from either a riverbed that's not too far away, the sandstone flat rocks that form the walkways, not to speak of the boulders and others that came from the fence lines along when our grandparents and father and uncles were clearing the land. This is our dry riverbed. We call it the wadi because that's an Arabic word that expresses the same meaning. This is a juniper that's called the gold strike. You know, very pleasant color to me, once again, because I like the contrast. And further back, we see another version of it that's called Mother Lode. And it happens to grow from there down to a second level and down to a third level. So it has a cascading effect from the pool. Blue Star, there's another juniper with a bluish color. This here is a form of Arborvitae.
Usually in the fall you have to put some kind of wire around them to protect them. I do a lot of pruning, trimming of the shrubs. You can only do that for so many years because it kind of outgrows that ability to have them pruned.
That's another type of caragana or weeping pea. It has the yellow flowers and the peas, but here they're very, very small and dainty. And as Paul says, they are more wispy on this particular bush.
This variety of hydrangea is a very old variety. We've had it here for probably 40 years. That is Red Sensation.
Red Sensation,
This
yes.
one here.
It's, this type is called the mophead type of hydrangea. And one of our beautiful hydrangeas again, this one here is called Cherry Explosion. I guess they call it the lace variety because the petals and the florets form around a center area, a little lighter in color. Here's another hydrangea here that's called Blushing Bride. It's a new one for us. The barberries, these are new introductions over the last few years, and they always remain sort of in a small form.
We like to have a garden mix. We mix annual plants with perennial plants and even shrubbery or conifers, dwarf trees.
We have some of our nice showy annuals that are growing on the far side, and those orange and white ones are a type of impatient which they call the sun patient. Spirea. The gold mound is the one that I prefer.
We keep them pruned as a more compact bush. We are lifetime gardeners. There is no perfect way to do it. We are learning, even though it's a lifetime thing. We are learning, and trial and error is the best way to do it.
I love those guys. Holy cow.
I know, aren't they great gardeners?
Yeah,
Just
beautiful
amazing
landscape.
stuff that they grow, and lots of varieties of shrubs there. I know we just wanted to mention about the barberry. People say it's invasive. That was a newer
Newer
introduction. So
Look for
what
the
do we-
sterile varieties. And really, actually, now in the state of Minnesota, you can't buy any, as far as the nursery stock, you
Really?
can't buy anything unless it is sterile.
There was a phase out, and they're not going to dig them out of your gardens, but it has become invasive, some of the older seeding varieties, so the new ones will be sterile. And deal again with a good local nursery person.
I think we have time for just a couple more questions. What are some easy vegetables to grow from seed? This is from Beth in Orr.
Easy vegetables. Is there such a thing as an easy vegetable?
Lettuce?
The vegetable grower, not
Maybe?
lettuce, carrots, beets, green beans, certainly they're all easy to grow from seed.
And one more I want to get to, although Ted's waving me on, is my perennials were shipped too early. This is Bonnie in Finland. She had a hosta and a butterfly bush, has them in her crisper drawer. What do I do now?
Keep them there.
Leave them in the crisper drawer.
Keep them in the crisper. Okay, a couple more weeks before we can do anything with them. All right, great. Well, wonderful information. Thanks, you guys. We do want to mention one garden event coming up on Monday, Bob.
Yeah, this next Monday we're going to be up in Barris, with just northeast of Virginia a little ways, and we're going to be talking about the new hydrangeas. We're going to be talking about pollinator gardens. Deb Erickson Burns is going to join us there, and a full hour on apple varieties, pruning, the whole thing. It's going to be a good day. Just call the number there on the screen and come and join us on Monday. It's going to be fun.
Okay, you can find much more information and past episodes of this program on our website. It's at wdse.org. Again, big thank you to our phone volunteers from St. Louis County Master Gardeners, and of course, you guys, great, invaluable advice and information. Paul from Duluth says, is 9-bark deer resistant? I believe it is. Is that correct?
Yep.
Oh, Bob's hesitating. We'll talk about it next week. All right. Thanks to all of you for calling and for watching, and we hope to see you again here next week on Great Gardening.